I will be relentless even the more. Before I even think about forgetting, we have a nation to save. Choose to do everything, excluding anything that will get us to bury one more Ugandan. Choose peace.
Ngalabye kali abo musimanyi bampe aliwo yenna zebula musimanyi bajuyita ngakoze training pata abantu zitwampola kya kuzanyira bodi balanso kuzanyira kukolola nina iko mu training ne muga kati yakuba kwati kyamusaba akati balanse kati nange ni mutandise uli ayogera ne bana ba cameraman era gwesebo ukiseka wonobeera onogenda nakatewo noyogeza kweza nja kugateeka kamera wansi tuyingire muli nawa alenga nyanya omuntu yenna ngamukuba bukumi kubanga zebula tajja kufuuka kyakuzanyiza abantu bali awo musimanyi buli omu abeeri munjagala zebula buli omu ava eno ayagala zebula babeere wali bwenkuba yavaamu omulala yajja kati waliwo kali kacako buze bubiri kali kacako kagambe pima jako nawe opime nikazaniko kaka ningaye mu babiri mbabbe mano bono buli abantu babita bamuza nyumba buli si usungu si kambwala neze ndi mando nikisolosolo okuddako buli anayogera babuliri n'abalunda ennyanya nawe abo mu kiseke ne bawa jakuba abantu bonna.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Ndukosala lukubo ne lukoma nadda ayebala bidde zebra nebakuba ekyasi ewala nagwa wansi nabagamba temuzitamulutira ki musajja namutuukako namugaa gwe zebra namugamba ze zebra namukuba amasasi naafa.
Natuze ku makya ntukakasa kituufu nga zebra afa.
Shall work hand in hand with all other agencies to find out what exactly happened and who could be behind it, because our teams are on ground and gathering this information. So we call upon whoever has any information that could be of material value to come and give it to us.
Of course, I didn't know anything about this until the person died. That's when I started inquiry. Now, when I inquired, I found that actually Zebra was doing quite a good job in the Kawempe area. First of all, he was an NRM supporter. That's what I came to find out. And that's why he was planning to come and see me in the next few days together with others.
President Yoweri Museveni, in his New Year's address to the nation, said that he was still investigating circumstances under which a former national icon, and I'm talking about a national boxer and champion, Isaac Senyange, also known as Zebra Mando, was shot and killed by security personnel that he, as commander-in-chief, deployed.
Meanwhile, the wife and the son cooperated with the security forces and there was no problem. Now, these security forces were in a number of groups. Some were here in the house, but others were around, like a military operation, because they are used to that type of operation. So now he goes and bumps into the other people who are far away, and that's why there is some controversy, which which I want to conclude. The soldiers involved say when they stopped him, he refused to stop and tried to fight with them. But we shall get the details of that. And that's how he was shot twice and he died. But we shall get more. Initially, I didn't know these were security. Yesterday, when I was talking to the wife, I thought actually it was the criminals who would have killed him. But the wife told me that they had a police uniform. And I said, but sometimes the criminals, especially those who are sponsored by some of the external forces, can steal police uniform and pretend to be police when they are not. And that's why I really, for almost 12 hours, I was checking until later on, the security forces knew that I was involved, and then they informed me, and that's how I came to know that it was our own people who were involved. I'm very sorry about this. I've already talked to the wife and the son, and I'm going to investigate the whole situation, and I will inform the family and maybe the country later.
The Commander-in-Chief, under normal circumstances, deploys these kinds of persons with their guns to hunt for criminals, not national icons. He went on to admit that they were being used by opposition politicians to cause havoc in Kampala and other surrounding areas.
I, however, got some information about how some of the youth trained by him were involved in the controversy, apparently, which is going on around a taxi park in that area between different groups. That was the only indication that people trained by him or under his control were involved in some local controversies. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. We normally get information, some of which is accurate, some of which is not accurate. The correct thing is to find out. And that's what these security people had gone to do, to take in Zebra and ask him some questions. They are operating quietly in these areas to be effective. Now, when they, unfortunately, I think that's where the unfortunate thing happened.
Now, for a moment, I want you to close your eyes and sink in the fact that the Commander-in-Chief had publicly admitted that his forces had taken a life again. There are many reasons for this, because President Yoweri Museveni, the Commander-in-Chief, understands security, so he could have chosen to keep quiet about the matter and gone about solving it privately and quietly. He did not, and I want to suggest deliberately. Mr. Museveni is a very deliberate Ugandan who is also very intelligent, and is also quite some man. To whom was he sending a message? Let's not even debate on whether he was sending a coded message or not. He was. If you doubt it, then you've got to go back to the book, A Basic Understanding of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Well, that book doesn't exist, but you get my point, don't you? President Museveni said he had deployed in Kampala highly trained soldiers who had been fighting Allied Democratic Forces, ADF rebels in Congo, at least the border, and Al-Shabaab terrorists in Somalia.
The background to all this is that because of the indiscipline and criminality of some of the opposition groups, which resulted in the serious riots and violence of the other month, I deployed highly trained units from our army who had been doing much of the fighting in areas like Somalia, fighting ADF, into the Kampala area. This is because of the weakness and corruption of some of the police elements, which had allowed Kampala to have no-go areas. These units started operating in Kampala around the 20th of November. And they were able to deal with some hardcore criminals in all these areas.
And then somehow trained soldiers he deployed, who had been deployed to take down rebels, took down a Ugandan who was not on the list. President Museveni deeply apologized for Senyange's death, which he said was due to recklessness and violent conduct of some opposition leaders, in his opinion, especially in the National Unity Platform.
However, this is all due to the reckless actions of the opposition groups, because wherever I go, they talk of intimidation. People are crying that they are being intimidated by the opposition elements. The other day I was in Mawokota, and the Honorable Nakawuchi was crying about intimidation by the group belonging to NUP, that they were threatening people that if they don't vote for them, they will kill them. Well, I told Nakawuchi that that will not happen, and I would like to get details of those who are doing that, and we shall deal with them. The other day I was in Rakai, it was the same story. I therefore would like to advise the opposition, especially those who are fond of this, these particular groups, that this will not work for them especially.
But well, who should be held liable and accountable? Where and when will justice be served? Zebra is among other Ugandans who have faced wrath, sent too early to their graves, or should we call it recklessly sent there. And maybe the recklessness as well of those in security, you can add in President Yoweri Museveni's voice.
Justin Juko, the Ugandan destroyer.
The Forum for Democratic Change FDC party coordinator for Greater Masaka region, Justin Juko, who had been missing for a number of days, was remanded after being charged with treachery. Well, it's another tier away from treason. Juko, also known as the Ugandan destroyer, was arrested on December 12th from Chazanga, kept in detention for a number of days, and reportedly charged by the Unit Disciplinary Committee of the Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence. Yes. This is according to the evidence tendered before High Court Judge Musa Sekana by the Attorney General's representatives. This was the hearing of an application demanding Juko's whereabouts and unconditional release. Juko is now waiting to be tried by the General Court Martial but avails no evidence of where he was remanded to. The state, in such circumstances, hasn't explained why we are where we are. It is also alleged that Juko was found with a numberless star pistol with 7 rounds of ammunition, which he was using to train the said youth groups. They say that the pistol is ordinarily a monopoly of the defense forces, unless, of course, you go through the channels to receive a private one, like some of you have. All the crimes were reportedly committed in Chazanga, Ruengo district. Now, think about what I'm going to say. Whose pistol is this? How did it end up in Juko's possession, if indeed he had one? I hope this pistol is not like the Arua Hotel guns. You remember those? It's Uganda, right? Juko, like Zebra, is not alone. Another FDC coordinator, Gripo Mayanja, spent close to 2 weeks in detention. Well, a detention facility without being produced before any court of law, contrary to the constitutional provision which limits detention without trial to just 48 hours. Mayanja was, however, on December 22, released on police bond by the Special Investigations Department of the police in Chireka on charges of inciting violence. It's a troubling story of kidnaps, missing Ugandans, and others shot dead by the state. Well, the state does now admit. Does it sound familiar to you, at least lately? There's another missing boxer, Robert Mukasa. Now, Robert was allegedly kidnapped on the same day his colleague Isaac Zebra Senyange was. And that's the day he was killed. I mean, Senyange. So you get Senyange is killed on the same day Mukasa is taken. Mukasa was reportedly taken from Bugalani zone, Bwaise 3 in Kawempe division. I'd like to believe, and allow me to, that those managing our security forces know what we don't know. We also know what they may not know. I'd also like to believe that, in the main, they act on the basis of what they know, not what they do not know, because that would be panic, which is sad and reckless. Elections, ladies and gentlemen, should be about ballots and victories. I scarcely know, in fact, I do not know, how we came to the place where elections in Uganda have now become about vigils, funerals, and empty dinner tables. It is sad, but that seems to be where we are. Fellow Ugandans, those of you in security watching, I know you do, and those of you who manage the affairs of this nation, or those of you close to them, there's something called the soul of a nation. And the soul of Uganda needs to be found. If we are going to have to be sorry again and again for another Ugandan shot dead by guns that the taxpayer buys and puts in the hands of men trained very well, then we have some deep soul searching to do. By the way, before this Senyange admission, we don't have a report, at least the one promised by the Commander-in-Chief, on those shot dead, especially the innocent ones during the November unfortunate killings, because a report was promised. Now somebody else is added, and another promise of an investigation. I can assure you, those guns are still out there. And you can now live with the fact that someone has one of them and is in uniform and could take you down, and then the Commander-in-Chief will come back to apologize, but you will be gone. Be extra careful with those with guns. More than ever now that their boss has told you publicly that they are making mistakes. We need to come to a place as a nation where we need to agree that what is going on is not good for Uganda. It could be out of panic. It doesn't seem to be in sync and coordinated. And some have even been brave enough to suggest that it seems as if there is an absence of a central command. At least that's what it seems like. Mr. President, on behalf of many Ugandans, because that's my responsibility here, let me ask, as I sign out, I will return you to that speech in Kololo. When you took the oath of office, the last time you did, you asked us, Ugandans, and all of us, those of us who had voted, at least those who did, and those of us who didn't vote, you asked all of us to trust you, largely on the basis of the fact that you, more than anybody else, understands security. Now, Mr. President, that you have admitted, not once, but twice in such a short time, that your people took innocent lives, I dare ask, Mr. President, who is in charge? Is it still you? Mr. President, I wish I could meet you in person, look you in the eye. I'll ask this very same question on behalf of many Ugandans. I hope I meet you, Mr. President, because we need an answer that you are in charge, and all that is going on doesn't suggest that you are not. Mr. President, and everybody watching, Happy New Year. I hope I don't have to come back here to talk about a president apologizing for another Ugandan killed by security forces. You know what I'm going to take down? It is this show. Until next week, we'll see you soon.